So this is the third Christina Rossetti poem you asked me to look at, and it's really interesting. It's much more modern in style, and it has a much more modern theme. The theme is still love, and it's still the role of men, but I think it's a much more mature one. Promise me no promises, so I will not promise you. And so we may immediately ask if this is a cynical introduction. The way to equality is to deny this gift that man has to give love to women and deny the love that women can give to men. It's almost as though relationships should not be based on this kind of love, because that power relationship always disadvantages one side, and in a gender-based society where men hold the power, in a patriarchal society, it's always going to be the woman who suffers. And so here the equality is, well, we both have less. Keep we both our liberties. Straight away we have a contrast. Perhaps we don't have less. Perhaps true liberty is not to be bound by love, but to be bound by affection, to be bound by friendship. And this is an interesting idea. It's a modern idea that we have. We have this idea that there can be sex between friends, although beneath the surface that does always cause anxiety, doesn't it? Never false and never true. And so I might gain something because my lover will never be false to me because I don't ask him to. I don't ask him to make me a promise. But on the other hand, he can never be true. He can never prove his love. And so that seems like something I might not want. Let us hold the die uncast is the line that follows it. And again, as so much with Christina Rossetti, it has a double meaning. The die here is uncast, and so the cloth is still white. It's not been dyed. It's pure. And, on a secondary level, neither of us are dead. Love, binding us together with promises, is a loss of freedom. This is a kind of death. But here, that death has not been cast. Free to come as free to go. And the reason for this is quite odd. She talks about a past. For I cannot know your past, and of mine what can you know? And this appears to be a balanced sense of both pasts unknowable. But when we come to the next verse, we can see that that balance isn't equal. You, so warm, may once have been warmer towards another one. And you'll remember how keen she is to portray a man as the sun, the warmth giver, the love giver. But of course that gives us again a hierarchy. The sun rules over everything. I, so cold, may once have seen sunlight, once have felt the sun. And again she picks up on that image. It's the male's job to bestow sunlight, to bestow warmth, and she may have felt it, but she hasn't had the power to give it, has she? Whereas he has. And so now in the second verse we see that inequality in the power relationship that wasn't apparent in the first. Who shall show us if it was thus indeed in time of old? Interesting, isn't it, this focus on the old that we saw in her earlier poems. She's now deliberately rejecting. It's a deliberately modern voice that she's striving for. Fades the image from the glass, and the fortune is not told. And really I guess she's asking herself, well, if a woman hasn't got fairness and what is attractive, if she does not look good in the glass, what else is there? Is there fortune? And the third verse might answer that for us. If you promised, you might grieve for lost liberty again. So fortune isn't about tying your partner down because they might not feel free. If I promised, I believe, I should fret to break the chain. And so there is again equality here. There's empathy. Perhaps women are the same as men. Perhaps she too doesn't want to be chained down by love. Perhaps this courtly love that she's been exploring in her other poems is actually something she doesn't want. It's almost a device of poetry, and through her poetry she's now realising she wants something else. Let us be the friends we were. Well, is this somehow less than love? Is it somehow second best? Is it plan B? Let's find out. Nothing more, it's nothing more than friendship, but actually it's also nothing less. Perhaps friendship is precious, and perhaps that's the true way that men and women can survive by being first friends, not seeing the man as somehow superior, bestowing a love on a woman who must be grateful and care for him. Many thrive on frugal fare who would perish of excess. And so love is somehow impure. It's like gluttony, it's like greed. It's fine in small doses, but of course it can't last. Whereas the frugal fare will last. Well, is frugal fare disappointing? Is it something we should reject? Let's return to the title. She offers us this wonderful joke that promises, like pie crusts, are to be broken. But also the crust of the pie is the bit that really you don't want to eat, do you? You want to get straight to the pie. The pie crust itself is excess, but the good bit, the meat, what you'd want to eat, is actually the pie in between. And so we might read frugal fare as a joke. That's how society would see this love, where where a woman and a man could become lovers, but not husband and wife, and see themselves as friends, connected that way for a long time. But in her image, that's the real meat. That's what lies underneath, and marriage is just a crust on top. Well, it's difficult to decide, and you might leap to an autobiographical interpretation and look at what actually happened in her life as a commentary on her poems. But I'm not sure if that's actually the best way to go about it. Another way would be to look at the social inequality at the time and ask how free she was to choose. Is she telling her lover here what she thinks he wants to hear, but actually this isn't her true view? Or has her poem really revealed an inner truth to herself that she didn't know she had? And I've ended with this poem because it contrasts so well with the previous two, in order to suggest that perhaps there is a moment here where she sees beyond a society's conventional view to what love could be like. On the other hand, an argument against this might look at when the poems were individually written. Unfortunately, I haven't got the time to find out, but you could.